Guys,
No, you
now. Why you do that, Blake? Man.
Whew. Telling you, he's out of control today.
Jeez.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, you know exactly what you did.
Oh,
All right.
come on.
You know exactly what you did.
Mr. Blevins, the younger.
New producer. By the way, we're in the search for a new producer here at Bollox, Talks and Tangents, and a driver home.
Right, more to the point. I can always give you a ride home.
All right. Nice countdown, by the way, Blake. It's time to get started. Sorry we started off the show that way, but our producer thought he'd be cute and throw something at us in a curveball, and then got mad at us in the middle of the whole thing. So, hi guys, it's time to start Bollox Talks and Tangents. We're talking about inaugurations and the different stories of inaugurations. We got one coming up on Monday. None of us are too excited about it, but we do have one. And there's some amazing stories out there. A lot of fun research on this topic.
Yeah, neat stuff.
So Blake did come up with the topic, and it was like, oh, okay, we can make that work. And that's how it works. Like earlier in the week, we start discussing it. We go back and forth, and we bounce different things. And usually, Lenny's the most lenient, But I think you enjoy the research the most. Too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
it's a lot of fun. I'm a big rabbit hole fan.
Yeah. No. And there was a lot of fun rabbit holes to go down here. All right, but first thing we got to talk about our amazing sponsors, St. Augustine Distillery and Citygate Spirits. These guys have been with us quite a while, and they have amazing flavors. We're actually drinking their reserve rum,
nice
which is
rum.
Amazing. I'm not a real rum drinker.
I am.
But I can tell you right now, it's the best rum I've had. Yeah. So just absolutely love this rum, and just really enjoy it. And if you want to give a gift to someone, go to St. Augustine Distillery. If they're a rum drinker, you're not going to go wrong with it.
And it's a nice sipping rum, too. It's not like
you're not going
to necessarily mix that with cola.
No, you don't need maybe we mix that with the cola
whiskey. Ooh.
With the cola whiskey from Citygates, which is another sponsor we've got to talk about. Citygate Spirits, located on Sponsor Road, right there on the Bayfront. Their tasting tour to me is the most exciting. I think
surely flavorful. Yeah.
The distillery is probably the most informative, but the tasting tour at the Citygates to me is because they're constantly changing, and it's different flavors that you're going to get. You want amazing flavors, and you want to go to this bar. You want to go to Meehan's Irish Pub. It's 3 bars in one. Reggie over there, we're glad you and the crew survived Hell Week. Just wonderful people, great food, amazing whiskey collections.
Irish whiskey.
Irish whiskey collection. I mean, these guys just are rock stars.
Yeah.
Speaking of rock stars, the guys that keep me out of trouble, Abare, Kresge and Associates, the best CPAs in town. I can't imagine using anybody else for my businesses, and I can tell you this, there's probably very few accountants that can do what they do for me, as wild as my businesses are.
Public service announcement. I read in the paper today that in Florida, you don't have to file your federal taxes until March 1st because of the hurricanes.
Yes.
So, everybody gets a couple extra weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a wonderful thing, too. All right, St. Augustine Pirate Museum, over 800 original artifacts. Cindy and the entire crew over there, just wonderful people. They have the Colonial Oak. They do so much for the downtown businesses. Appreciate they've been with us since the very beginning. Kaiser's Deli and Market. Whew,
I was in there today.
what a great sandwich they have there. Try the Bollox.
Yep. And the pastrami is the best in town.
It really is. What do you call it? Is it belly pastrami?
It's the navel.
Navel
as opposed to, a lot of people take a brisket and make pastrami out of it, which is a big cut and you get a much greater yield. But the navel is a little bit lower down on the belly, and it's just,
It's so good.
Little fattier.
Yeah. The flavor in it, and it's just to me, it's a little. People don't like this word, but it's a little more moist. And I think it just produces way more flavor. So, all right, Coquina Coast Realty. Guys, it's time to start looking at what you're doing with your life choices and your companies and your business. I do commercial, I do residential. I can help you out in any of those situations. Life choices.
I'm always looking at my life choices.
It's constantly
usually in the rearview mirror going, what the hell did I do that for?
Yeah, well, you just looked right as soon as I said life choices, and you went, ooh. So, but
Those have been pretty good.
Coquina Coast Realty, give me a call, 904-669-7901, 904-669-7901. All right, we got Blake in the booth. If you hadn't heard me scolding him at the very beginning, appreciate you being back there pushing all the buttons, Blakester. But it's time for us to do our word origins.
Okay.
What is your word origin of the day?
Well, I'd like to be like the guy in the lottery commercial who had, he's so rich he's got money coming out the wazoo. So I went with out the wazoo, or gazoo, or kazoo.
See, I knew money out his ears, but
No, well, that was a commercial for the lottery, and they roll the guy in on a gurney into the operating room, and the doctor goes, he's got money coming out the wazoo. So,
So where exactly is your wazoo?
well, for most people, it's their butt.
Their bum.
Yes.
Okay.
It could be some lady parts as well, but apparently it diminished itself down to an orifice at some point in time. Up the wazoo, out the wazoo, or gazoo. Not to be confused with the Great Gazoo from floating on his little scooter.
The Great Gazoo.
Yep.
Yeah. Trying to save the Flintstones.
Yep. It's excess or abundance. And I take my glasses off, I can read it. Running up your old wazoo. It's like a butt. And they figured that after a while they started doing it because when it got to kazoo, it's a humming type of situation, and it's and that is where it got butt adjacent.
Sometimes your wazoo sounds like a kazoo.
Yep. And that was it. That was part of it.
Especially at your age.
Well, yeah, thank you very much for that. Also depends on what I had for dinner. And it was razu at one point in time in the late 1800s, which was like, when you blow a raspberry and you give somebody the raspberry, it's a sign of contempt. So that was in the late 1800s. Then in 1965, there was a novel called Glover by Francis Pellini. And in it, there was a line that was up the goddamn gazoo and out the butt. Mm-hmm. So
the kazoo was a different body part.
Correct. Well, it's all they were all synonymous with, your tuchas.
Well, it says up the kazoo and out the butt, so that means it's two different body parts.
Okay.
I mean, that's the way I understood that. Isn't that what you just said?
Up the goddamn gazoo and out the...
Yeah. So the kazoo must
out
be...
Out the buzz.
The kazoo must be a different body part. Now I'm really confused.
Yep, nope. I think they're all butt-like and orifice-est.
Yeah.
Some people think it came from the French word oiseau, which is bird, from Creole, Oiseau, because I can't pronounce French well. Oiseau, okay, which would be like wazoo. And that's Creole French. But that was it. And then there was one. There was a quote attributed to the Honolulu Observer. Apparently, Wally Amos, famous Amos, was giving out kazoos at a ball game somewhere. And in 1978, the Honolulu Observer wrote that Wally Amos was up his wazoo in kazoos.
Okay.
So
yeah, it's a stack of them.
Yep, there was a lot of them. He gave them away at a ball game.
Is that the cookie guy?
It was, yeah. He passed away recently. I think he passed away in this year.
Yeah.
Last year. Famous Amos. He sold the brand, but still was, good little cookies.
Famous Amos, he did pretty well in his cookie world.
Yeah, Wally Amos, yeah.
You remember the baseball player Amos Otis?
I do.
Kansas City Royals?
Yep.
So is that right?
Yep.
Blake, you remember that guy?
I think he played for a couple of teams.
Amos Otis?
I have heard the name before, but I don't associate a picture with him.
I think he was with the team, the Royals, when they had that good team in the 70s.
Okay.
With George Brett and was Chambliss on that team?
No, but I'm wondering
who was their first baseman. They had a good first baseman.
Then
he went to the Yankees, or Chambliss was with the Yankees and then went to the Braves. Okay.
Yeah.
Confusing the times.
Yeah. Well, that's it. These young baseball players come up, and I keep going back. I gave Blake that box of baseball cards for his birthday, and I thumbed through it myself, which is why I'll replace it with a pristine box should he want. And I'm going, I remember him, because that was from my heyday.
Yeah. So 70s and 80s is usually where I'm the best at baseball, just because I was playing and I was involved in it, and kind of waned off a little bit in the 90s and definitely in the 2000s. But when Blake started getting into it, I kind of came back to baseball a little bit. So, all right, my word, and I was trying to come up with a word that was somewhat political, and because of what it is today, I use the word a teetotaler. So a teetotaler is somebody who's against alcohol, doesn't drink alcohol and thinks you shouldn't drink alcohol.
There you go.
And it first was used in this form in 1834. It goes all the way back to 1807, but calling someone a teetotaler didn't start until 1834, and they were always involved in the political side. They were a part of the American Temperance Society.
Temperance movement, yeah.
Yeah, and the political party that they attached themselves to was actually the Prohibition Party. And today is the day that Prohibition was ratified in 1919,
Yep.
and the 18th Amendment was a part of this. So the teetotalers, I thought it didn't start until after the Civil War. I didn't realize it was this early on, and how it played a role in politics. And it took almost 100 years for them to get to Prohibition, and then they figured out, oh, we can't really tell people what to do because they're going to do whatever the hell they want to do anyway. And it ended up backfiring on all of them.
Right. The easiest way to remember those two, the Prohibition and the repeal of Prohibition, it's the 18th and 21st Amendment, which I always find mnemonically easy to remember because, 18 was the drinking age, and then 21 became the drinking age. So that's why I can remember those two amendments.
What was it when you came out of high school?
18.
Yeah, it was 19 when I came out of high school, and I was always a little bit behind it. So, I didn't turn 19 at the right time. I was 18. Yeah, I was still too young. They've switched it to 19. I was still too young.
Right.
And then it went to 21. I was like, oh, crap, now I got to wait 3 years.
Right.
But I looked like an old man
Right.
when I was 16, so it didn't really matter to me. It wasn't like it was really strictly enforced in the 80s in DeLand.
Yeah.
So
I never had a fake ID.
yeah. I had one. I had my brother-in-law's ID. It wasn't a fake ID. It was a real ID.
Right.
It was his face. But we were built about the same. We didn't look anything alike, but the foreign gentleman who worked at the Red Barn did not care.
Right.
And the Red Barn's a drive-through convenience store.
Yeah.
You don't get out of your car. They just bring it to you, and you say, hey, give me a 6-pack of Mickey's.
Yeah.
And, oh, here it is. Hold your thumb over the picture.
Over the picture, exactly.
And he's like, okay, oh, good. You're good. You're good. You're good. And then, I never got carded. The same guy worked every single night. I don't think he ever took a day off.
Right. Yeah.
So, I never really had that issue. Blake, do you ever have a fake ID?
Big drinker that you are?
Yeah. You boozer?
You really think I have a fake ID? You would whoop my ass if you ever saw me with a fake ID.
I might be proud of that, by the way. No, I wouldn't. I'd kick your ass.
My mom would kick my ass a lot harder than you. By the way.
Yeah. No. We don't. We wouldn't mind as long as you drink responsibly. And you are a teetotaler, so even though you don't put it in your political world, but you're a non-drinker, and that's completely okay. We are, like I said, we are drinking the rum tonight, but we're talking about inaugurations. All right, we're going to get off the teetotaler thing. We're talking about inaugurations, and where do you want to start? Which one do you want to start with? You want to start with Washington?
We can start at the beginning, sure.
Yeah, let's start with Washington.
He was the only president who was inaugurated in two separate cities because he got inaugurated twice, his first term and his second term. So one was at Federal Hall in New York City, and one was at Congress Hall in Philadelphia, those two terms. He also had, in his second inauguration, the shortest inaugural speech.
Yes, still to this day.
135 words, 2 minutes. So that was pretty impressive. Yeah, I mean, it seemed that he was sort of over it by the time he got into his second term. It was interesting.
Well, he basically had to define what a president was. He had to define how you would address the president, the protocol of a president, and how, because he was a 6'4" guy, and at that time that was a really big dude. And I found it interesting. I read something today about how he started defining the role of president, and the executive branch and the Articles of Confederation, and he pulled
Right.
everything out of that, out of the Constitution, and he had a little pencil, and as he read the Constitution, because it was never defined.
Right.
Oh, here's your job description.
Yeah, make it up as you go along.
He was the first guy. He would write and they showed the actual notes that he had in his notebook. He had the Constitution printed out, and he'd write president beside it. Okay, that's my role. You go down, Article 2, presidents. Because the first one was the legislative branch,
right,
and there was certain parts of it that the president had. It was involved in the first article, and the second article was mostly all about the executive branch, and that's how he defined what a president's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And over the last, I would say, the last 40 years, the president has stretched their power more than a lot of other presidents.
You said in the last 4 years.
Last 40.
40 years. Okay.
Last
So
40.
I was going to say, buckle up.
No, the last 40 years.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So I really, I'm going back to Reagan.
Okay.
And well, it could Nixon, Carter, and Ford not so much. They believed in the legislative branch, but
yeah,
it's gradually grabbing more of a piece of power than what the intent. Like in the late 1800s, those presidents played a role, but they weren't the overpowering force that you would see today. Teddy Roosevelt swung that a little bit. Taft went in the other direction. Woodrow Wilson kind of went in that other, and it kind of drifted back the other way. Mm-hmm. And it drifted back. Roosevelt had to play a different role because of World War II.
Right.
But up until Reagan became, I would say, our first celebrity president.
Okay.
And at that point, his...
You don't think JFK qualified as a celebrity president?
I don't think so, because I don't think the media was as strong then. There was
he wouldn't have gotten away with some of the shit that he pulled on the personal side if the media was there.
And there was a respect level. Okay, that's the president. We're not going to do this.
Right.
And, Reagan was, I think, the first president that was divorced and remarried. Mm-hmm. Even though Andrew Jackson married a woman who was already married.
Right.
That's what 80% of his duels were about, was about his wife, who was very outspoken. Mm-hmm. And most
Rachel, right?
Yeah. So most of his duels were about that. But inaugurations, Washington, very simple.
Yeah.
Simple guy. The most interesting thing that I read about his inauguration, besides the shortness of the speech, his first inauguration, he had to borrow $200.
Yep. He was land rich and cash poor.
Yeah.
He had to borrow money to get to the inauguration.
He had like 300 slaves or something like that, and 600 acres.
Yep.
But he didn't have enough money to go to his own inauguration. He had to borrow $200. Mm-hmm. So
I found that interesting. Yeah.
Another interesting, speaking of money, is Lincoln's inauguration. His first inauguration, he stayed at the Willard. He didn't have enough money to pay his bill at the Willard, so he told him, when I get my first check as being president, I'll pay you. So he actually paid his bill, and he only paid for his rooms. Mm-hmm. He didn't pay for the parties or anything else. He assumed someone else was picking up the tab on that. Kind of left him with the tab at the Willard, and he paid $770 for the 10 days he stayed at the Willard, which is a lot of money.
I was going to say, $77 a day for a room in Washington in 1860?
Yeah, 1861.
That's seems pricey.
Yeah, well, I stayed at the Willard.
Okay.
Wow. How amazing is the Willard?
It really was amazing.
I can tell you right now, it's the most amazing hotel I've ever stayed at.
But we did have to change rooms, though.
Yeah, the one we got wasn't the right suite.
No.
Yeah. So I think we were in like the Grant room, and we had to, because they have a lot of the suites named after the presidents, and it's where the term lobbying
comes from.
Lobby came from.
Sure, exactly.
And a lot of the stories and parties are associated with the Willard in some of these inauguration parties. But yeah, we stayed there, but the room we got after we switched,
nice,
poshy posh.
We like that.
Yeah, poshy posh, and it was we stayed there after I walked to DC.
Okay.
So we treated ourselves for.
So you needed some place to recuperate.
Yeah, but it was it still was an amazing hotel. So, all right. Talked a little bit about Washington. What was the most interesting story you felt, or one that you didn't know? Some of these I knew a little bit about,
Right.
And some of them I had no idea about.
Well, I found it interesting, though I found conflicting explanations for this, that when Teddy Roosevelt got inaugurated, he was wearing a ring that the first citation I saw had and I'm not going to go lock of Abraham Lincoln's hair, because there was one strand in the ring that was given to him by I want to say John Hay, who was the Secretary of State. The guy had been Lincoln's secretary when he was a 22-year-old. He was Lincoln's secretary. So years later, 45 years later, when TR was getting inaugurated for the second time in 1905, he had a ring that had a strand of Lincoln's hair in it. Now, this guy, John Hay, who was Lincoln's secretary, paid somebody $100 to pluck 6 strands of hair off of Lincoln's head during the autopsy, and he took that and he fashioned one into a ring. I saw another citation that alluded to him wearing a ring that had been given, a ring that had been given to him, loaned to him by Mary Todd Lincoln. It had been given to John Hay by Mary Todd Lincoln, and it was a loaner then, and it didn't mention anything about the hair.
Well, I got the same story, and about John Hay, the Secretary of State of Lincoln's private secretary there, and but the part that I found interesting is Roosevelt's infatuation with Lincoln in history, and it all stemmed from when he was 6 years old.
Looking out the window.
Looking out the window, and Lincoln's body rode through New York City.
Correct.
So he saw Lincoln's body, because they did a tour of Lincoln's body all over the country.
Yeah.
And
there's a picture. There's actually a picture of him hanging out the window and looking at it. Somebody caught him. Somebody took a picture, and in that picture you see young TR looking out the window at the parade going by. Well, I guess parade's not the right word, but the procession going by with Lincoln's body. And if that was Teddy Roosevelt's house, that's now a national monument.
Yeah.
And it's open for tours.
And sticking with Lincoln.
Yeah.
At his inauguration, up on the balcony, above him, you know who was there?
John Wilkes Booth.
John Wilkes Booth was at his inauguration, his second inauguration in '65.
Yep.
So, he
and we'll stick with Lincoln for a second. So, the vice president makes a brief, theoretically brief remarks before thing. Well, Andrew Johnson, he went on and on and on and on, and apparently, he had been drinking the night before, so he was hungover.
Well, he wasn't feeling well.
Right. Well, he was taking drugs.
He was medicating himself with whiskey and
some kind of pharmaceutical.
Some type of pharmaceutical.
Right.
And he rambled, and they couldn't even understand what he was saying. Right. And it got so bad. The vice president is responsible to swear in new senators.
Yeah.
And he had to have the Senate clerk swear in the new senators because he couldn't talk.
Right. And Lincoln, Johnson was speaking, Lincoln just sat there with his eyes closed, waiting for it to be over. He was just napping through it, basically. So, yeah, that was interesting. Andrew Johnson was just, not a good president, not a good vice president. Yeah, he was belligerent. He was, probably a Southern sympathizer when you come right down to it, because he was not big on, Reconstruction or whatever. But I did get a kick out of it. Did you see where in 1953 for Eisenhower's first inauguration, they wanted there was a cowboy movie actor named Monty Montana.
He got lassoed.
And he originally wanted to give him a 10-gallon hat, but at the last minute they changed it, and he rode up to the dais on a horse, and he lassoed Eisenhower at his inauguration.
Yeah.
What?
It made no sense. I didn't understand that one.
Yeah.
Here's an absolute war hero.
Yep.
probably within the last 100 years the greatest war hero we've had. You know, he was the guy who executed D-Day.
Yeah.
And saw us to the end of World War II. And, you know, presidents, he's the one who brought us the highway systems and did a lot of great things.
Yeah. Well, he did the highway system as part of the national defense.
Oh, 100%.
You know, I mean, it was a brilliant move, actually.
Because he knew what was happening in Europe, and if the roads got taken out, you had to have alternate routes to protect yourself. And he saw this as a protection of the United States if we ever were attacked.
And he created them large enough to handle military transportation. So that was pretty good, too.
Envoys. So, so, I mean, I did see that one about Ike. Coming a little closer in, and that I found interesting was Andrew Jackson and Van Buren. It's kind of, except for Trump and Biden, it's kind of expected that the president,
incoming, outgoing,
and the president and the newly elected president ride together to the inauguration. It's a fairly common thing, but that started with Van Buren and Andrew Jackson. James Buchanan picked up his vice president and forgot.
Oops.
His carriage driver forgot to pick up the president, Zachary Taylor. He forgot to pick him up. And they had to hold up the inauguration to send the carriage driver back to get Zachary Taylor to do the inauguration for James Buchanan. Now, it was 20 minutes delay, which wouldn't have been a big deal.
Right.
But you know what was wrong with James Buchanan? He was having trouble with like diphtheria, and he had diarrhea. He actually had to have a doctor on stage with him during that. So not only did he forget the other president, he's suffering from diarrhea. He's the first president to be sworn in without a spouse.
Right. Well,
he's our only president to have never been married.
Say what you will. Right.
And so there's interesting facts along with him also.
You know what they called? You know what they alluded to the diarrhea? They called it the National Hotel Disease.
Yes. Yeah. That's where they feel like it came from. The hotel.
Yep. National Hotel Disease. That was interesting. I caught something interesting too. Zachary Taylor. Was fairly devout and refused to take the oath of office on the Sabbath. Because, if it was a Sunday, he wasn't buying it. So they didn't know what the hell to do. So this guy, David Rice Atchison, was sworn in as president on Sunday, March 4th, 1849, and he was president for one day.
Say that again?
Gentleman by the name of David Rice Atchison took the oath of office on March 4th, 1849, because Zachary Taylor refused to swear an oath on the Sabbath. So they didn't want to have no president. So this guy was president for the day. And, he could have been the 12th president, and that would have made Taylor the 13th, but they don't count him.
Yeah.
But on his tombstone, on the plaque over his grave, it said, President for one day, David Rice Atchison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So that's pretty cool.
Well, I believe I still have this record, and I don't know if it's true or not now. But in 1979, 1979, I was the youngest mayor of DeLand for one day.
Oh, nice.
I got sworn in. I was in charge of my student council, and I got sworn in by Alan Summerhill, the current mayor, to run the meeting, the city meeting, and to close out the city meeting.
Nice.
For the city council. So I was technically a mayor of DeLand for one day.
Very nice.
1979.
Very nice.
So
I think you should add that to your CV.
Wait, put it in there.
Put it in the resume. No doubt about it.
Put it in
All
there.
right. So it's going to be chilly on Monday. Okay.
Yes.
Going to be chilly on Monday.
Yeah.
Not even close to the coldest.
No, William can talk about it.
Yep.
There were some of them that were actually held inside.
Yeah.
Some of the inaugurations were actually held.
But it's interesting. Our buddy Ron Reagan, he was inaugurated in 1981 at the warmest at 55 degrees,
Okay.
and the coldest in 1985, 7 degrees.
Oh my.
7 degrees.
Oh my.
Now-
7 degrees is like I'm not staying outside for that long.
Now that's really nothing because Wilson also had it at 55 degrees in 1913, but that was in March because they didn't move it until Roosevelt. But U.S. Grant, coldest ever. In 1873, it was 7 degrees.
Okay.
And the wind chill had it be like 15
Oh, I thought
below.
you said Reagan was 7 degrees also.
It was.
Okay.
But he was.
Wind chill.
It was wind chill. Grant might have been. Yeah, Grant was 7. Reagan was 7. But so that was the toast. But one was March, one was January.
I think I've only been in single. I've never been below 0.
Really?
Like I've never been below 0. I think the coldest I've been might have been 5 or 7 degrees Fahrenheit.
That was part of the impetus to move to Florida. There was a couple of weeks in New York, and it was in I guess 2013, where it was in single digits for a week in New York on the island, and that was brutal.
I can't imagine for a week.
Well, it was part of the motivating factor to say, I'm done shoveling snow. I'm too old for this shit. So that was wacky.
Yeah.
But along with
when you were growing up, were you in charge of the shoveling?
yeah,
Okay.
unless
At what age did you take over that role?
Well, my mother would be. See, my mother. I had alluded to her earlier on the Mike Davis show. My mother was the same, but my mother, if it snowed, she needed her footprints to be the first footprints in the snow in the street.
Okay.
So if it snowed, my mother was out there
For the year or like
every snowstorm.
every snowstorm?
My mother wanted her footprints to be the first footprints in the snow.
Was there a superstition with that, or
Nope,
just-
she just loved the snow.
Okay.
No, I say this. I say this with all due love, respect. My mother was a wonderful and saintly woman, and she just loved the snow. She'd go play in the snow. She'd walk around. She digged it. So she would shovel, but I would do it because it's what a good son does. So probably when I was 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
right.
Bend with your knees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's like mowing the lawn here in Florida.
Yeah.
You got to mow the grass like it feels like every 3 days.
Yeah.
Your parents are on you
Yeah.
the entire time. And I think I've always had a hatred for mowing the lawn. Now, I didn't mind when I was working in Parks and Rec.
Right.
You
So you got to ride.
because it was a ball field, and
Right.
it wasn't always that. I mean, it was kind of like, I understand why people at home get pleasure out of it. Like, they get to see, a result. And mowing the
Yes,
lawn, you
yes.
get an instant result.
Yeah.
Shoveling snow, it looks like
Same
you would
thing.
get an instant
Right.
result. You get that gratification. But I hated mowing at the house, and I didn't hate it at work. So.
So is that why you didn't teach me how to mow grass?
Yeah, no, I didn't. You needed to learn. You needed to learn more technical stuff. Your generation doesn't need to know how to mow the lawn.
And it was a lucrative business in New York.
Shoveling snow.
Yeah, you'd go ring a doorbell and say, "We'll shovel your walk for you."
Davey said that's how he kind of paid the bills when he was in New York.
Sure.
So.
And it used to be, $20, $10, $20, and you and a friend would do it. You'd split the money. You'd shovel the house. You'd go next door, ring the next doorbell, ring the next doorbell. Now these kids want $100, and you're going, I'll do it myself, or I'll wait till it melts.
Yeah.
They started to profiteer.
I saw some snow hacks because of the snow that's been happening and the way the hacks are and stuff like that. But like using a 4x8 piece of plywood and just taking that and just pushing it to the edge. Did you
No.
have any hacks? It was just
No, we just used shovels.
snow shovel
Yeah,
and
shovels,
go.
yeah.
Never had a blower.
No, later on, my father had a snowblower. Eventually, when I was not around as much, and that was good because then he would do the entire block. Yeah, that was you one snowblower on the block, and your friends
That's
came
what
out,
you-
and you
you
took
were- you
took
were
care.
there.
That was you took care of your village, you took care of your neighborhood, absolutely, and you could tell the streets that had good neighbors because they were all clean and the sidewalks were all clean and everything like that. So yeah, it was all good. But getting back to cold stuff, poor Ulysses Grant, on that 7-degree inauguration in 1873. He thought it'd be really nice to have canaries at the at the inauguration.
At the party.
Yep.
And it was so cold.
They froze and died.
Yeah, all the canaries died, and they like when they went to release the canaries, they fell.
That's it.
They
were
fell
done.
on top of the party goers.
Yeah.
So
they were
but that wasn't the only bird story.
No, we got Dick Nixon.
Yeah,
Tricky Dicky.
Well, and in his defense, he was told it would scare away the pigeons.
Well, it did more than that.
Well, and it killed all the pigeons.
Right. He used bird repellent to get rid of pigeons.
And I have to defend Tricky Dick in this scenario. Before you moved here, you know where Francis Field is, where they do the Sing Out Loud festival and all that. Okay?
Yeah.
You know where that is?
Yeah, sure.
Well, that used to be 2 softball fields. At one point, it was just a baseball field where the Saints played. But it used to be 2 softball fields. You had Francis Field and Joe James Field. I had a person come in, and in Florida, you always have a problem with mole crickets. You have a problem on the golf course, and they're little crickets. They burrow up, and they eat up all your grass. They'll destroy an entire ball field. So this salesperson comes to me and says, I have this great mole cricket killer, and it shows all the results and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds amazing. And it kills active mole crickets. So I decided to purchase this, and we put it on one field at a time. We put it on Francis Field, which is the one that's the westernmost towards US 1. And there was a coquina wall that was around it. Coming the next morning, there are at minimum 20 plus seagulls dead.
Because they were eating the crickets.
They were eating the mole crickets that had popped up.
Right.
And they weren't eating the poison itself, you know, they were eating the crickets and then dying. And we had trash bags, me and Dale Vaughn, who I worked with for years, and he was absolutely, we were dying, you know, it was so morbid and weird because we're rushing to get all the birds up before people see them.
There you go. Hide the evidence.
You know, and then I couldn't do the next field. I have this extra chemical. I couldn't use it again. But we probably I'd have to ask Dale, but it feels like we picked up 20 to 30 birds.
Wow.
In one day because, you know, I was sold, it'll kill the mole crickets, not even thinking about the birds.
Right.
So Tricky Dick, I'm going to give you a get out of jail free card on that.
Fair enough.
Have you ever listened to his tapes? The Nixon tapes?
Oval Office tapes? Yeah, no.
Blake, have you ever listened to that documentary?
I've not listened to I have not seen the documentary or never heard the actual tapes.
Let me tell you, this guy was an absolute. You think our current one is? This guy was an absolute asshole.
Right. Our soon-to-be current one.
Or soon, well,
there you go.
I'm sure they all are.
Right.
You know, everybody can put on a good face.
Right.
So I'm sure.
Well,
they all had to step on some throats.
Except Jimmy Carter.
Right.
Yeah.
Except for Carter. There you go. Yeah. And, you know, and it's funny because you say that. So there's a picture of Eisenhower and Truman in an open convertible riding to the inauguration together. And they're both smiling. And neither of them liked each other, could tolerate each other. It was, you know, that picture was just for show. And they disliked each other. They were political rivals. They did not like each other. Yet they had to suck it up and ride to the inauguration together.
Well, and JFK and Ike.
Yeah, you were telling me that.
It was like a last minute thing where they decided, okay, we're going to do it. Just, you know, and they rode together.
Right.
But it was one of those things they didn't want to, and I didn't want to, and it took everything JFK had when he had to call back to Ike during the Bay of Pigs.
Right.
So during those 13 days, I mean, it was everything he had, but he needed that. He needed that professionalism because that happened early on in his.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Well, you know, but that was at a certain point. Is, you know, you had to do it for the good of the country. You had to you know, work through shit. Nowadays, you know, nah.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and like I said, it started with Van Buren and Jackson, but there was 3 different times where the previous president left town,
Right.
and said, no, I'm not going to show up. And I think it's 4 now.
Right.
Right.
Well, it was 4 years ago.
Yeah, it happened 4 years ago.
Right. When Trump
Yeah.
decided he wasn't going to play nice.
So John Adams and Jefferson,
Yep.
they were traveling buddies and best friends
Yeah.
until they politically went against each other, and then they didn't talk for like 20 years.
Right. And then they.
And then they started reconnecting,
Right.
and they both died on the 50th anniversary of
July 4th, yes, sir.
signing the Declaration of Independence on July 4th in 26. And it
was Adams.
It was Adams who said at least Jefferson's
Still alive. Right.
But Jefferson had died earlier.
Right. And he didn't know that Jefferson died before him.
Yeah.
Right.
He didn't know Jefferson had actually passed.
Yeah. That's poignant.
So it was John Adams for when Jefferson went in, and then the next one was John Quincy Adams with Jackson. And we talk about how rough politics is right now. That race right there was horrible because Jackson and John Quincy Adams were 2 completely different people.
Yeah.
They were different human beings, different people.
Yeah.
Jackson's wife, Rachel, she was married and never really got divorced.
Technicality.
So, in reality, she was a polygamist. And when someone mentioned anything about that, Andrew Jackson challenged somebody to a duel.
Yeah.
So Andrew
He was a
Jackson,
little hot-tempered.
Andrew Jackson was not a guy. Old Hickory was not a guy you mess with.
No.
So,
No.
So John Quincy Adams didn't go.
Now, you know, when John Quincy Adams took the oath of office, he didn't do it on a Bible. He did it on a law book.
I think I did know that.
Yeah, he did it on a law book.
And people open to different pages. Some people do it like it's a family Bible.
Right.
Some people use Bibles from particular churches. So that was a different part of the inauguration.
Yeah, I don't know.
Did Washington use a Bible?
Washington was the first to use a Bible.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't think everyone used a Bible.
1789.
I don't think John Quincy Adams was the only one who didn't use.
Well, but he was the first one that certainly didn't. He used a law book. A couple of people didn't use anything. Somebody just swore the oath. Who was it? Let's see. I got it around here somewhere, but.
All right, so let's go through our sponsors real quick because we're at that point. Coquina Coast Realty, give me a call, 904-669-7901. You're looking for that second home, looking for that Airbnb to make a little bit of money. I'm a real estate guy. That's where my investments are. I'm not a stock market guy. Some of you people are out there. I just don't do that. I'm a real estate guy, and I'll try and get you the best possible deal we can. All right, Kaiser's Deli and Market. This deli is the best in town. There is no doubt about it. Go see Kurt Kaiser over there. Try the Bollox. Wonderful, wonderful. Blake will always point out the White Street's the way to go pressed. But go see Kaiser and their market. He has a lot of local vendors in there. St. Augustine Pirate Museum, Cindy Stavely and those guys over there. Amazing, amazing people. A wonderful experience. You will not be disappointed if you have family in town. Take them to the St. Augustine Pirate Museum. Abare, Kresge and Associates, best CPAs in town. Cannot be denied because I can tell you this, they keep me out of trouble. Anybody who keeps me out of trouble, they're doing amazing things. All right, Meehan's Irish Pub. Great food. Always have a great time there. What is your go-to there? You do the drunken clams, right?
I do the drunken clams. My wife likes the mac and cheese, and it's just good stuff. I mean, I think their key lime pie is the best one in town, honestly. I really do. And the drunken clams, and we don't even do it with pasta.
I do the chicken curry over there. I absolutely love that. Blake, he loves the mac and cheese. That's his second favorite besides his own. Just great food there. All right, St. Augustine Distillery and City Gate Spirits. They are award-winning distillery. Just wonderful people over there, always participating in the community, and thank all our sponsors so much. All right, so one of the funny ones, not so funny. There's two where mistakes were made when the justice is inaugurating.
Yeah.
All right, I think the funniest one was Herbert Hoover. So Herbert Hoover has a previous president
Right.
giving him the oath.
Right.
The previous president actually reads it to him incorrectly. He doesn't find out about this until an 8th grader contacts and says, he actually contacts Taft. Howard Taft is the one who's giving him the oath.
Helen Terwilliger.
Yes, Helen Terwilliger.
Helen Terwilliger, for those of you scoring at home.
She sent a letter to Taft. Taft said, no, that's not true. But they replayed the footage,
Yep.
and she was 100% correct. And he said, he should have said, preserve, protect, and defend. And instead he said, preserve, maintain, and defend.
Right.
And Hoover repeated it.
Yeah.
So he didn't do it exactly the way it was supposed to be done.
And he eventually conceded to the young woman
Taft
that
had
he
to
did it.
apologize
Right.
and say, yes, you are correct and you got this. But more recently,
Yeah, because I don't know if they redid the oath after that.
did-
I don't think they
didn't
redid
redo it.
Right. However, go on.
more recently,
Yep. Very recently.
Obama flip-flopped the structure of a sentence.
Well, it was because John Roberts, the Chief Justice, when he was leading him, Roberts misspoke, and Obama followed what he was supposed to parrot back.
Okay. Did you watch the video? You should watch the video. Roberts was still talking, and Obama started, because you could tell he was nervous and he had practiced it.
Right.
Started, and Roberts stopped, and then he reread it.
Okay.
Roberts really never read it incorrectly.
Okay.
Obama started too quickly, and then Roberts finished the sentence, and then repeated the sentence again. And that's how Obama screwed it up. Like it's something with faithfully or something like that. But I watched the video of it. So I was like, okay, I don't remember this happening, so I wanted to see it happening. But it had something to do. It was a word was out of sequence. It was like
Right.
it was the word
He
faithfully.
juxtaposed a couple of words.
And he instead of let's see if I can find it. I don't think it even has it in here. But because they were so nervous, he said it out of sequence. They went on with the inauguration and everything else. The next day, they had Chief Roberts come back.
Yep.
And
Just to make sure.
administer the oath for a second time
Right.
for Obama.
Just to cover their ass.
So the next day,
Yeah.
so they had an official do-over for Obama. But what had happened, and you could see it in Obama's face, and I don't remember this. I mean, it was a historical event with Obama going in. First black president.
Right.
And that you could see it in Obama's face. He was a brilliant man, but he was
Well,
obviously nervous.
well, there's the realization that holy shit, I put my hand up and I swear to this. I swear this oath. It's all me. I'm in charge now. It's So
Well, it has to
it's
be- it has to
the
be
weight of responsibility is got to
a
be.
sense of pride, a sense of weight that's coming down upon you, and a sense of okay, let me just hold my shit together.
Yeah, realization of responsibility, no doubt about it.
Yeah. So I mean, being the president is like being at bat in the ninth inning, down by one with a runner on second and third. All right, that's a true pressure. Or being on the
Carlos Beltran.
being on the free throw line.
Yeah,
With no time on the clock.
the stakes are high, but not quite as.
Yeah. But I mean, as president,
Yeah.
every day is that stake high.
Yeah.
And when what happened is Obama kind of jumped the gun on saying it, and then Roberts said it and then repeated it, and then that's how it got out of sequence.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was more Obama's anticipation, and everybody knows somebody who does that. It's like,
Sure.
okay, I want to finish your sentence, and
Hi, have you met me?
yeah, I resemble those remarks myself. But that's what happened with Obama. But I never knew until I read this. I didn't know about this story until today. Did you know about it?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah. And I like the fact that just to cover their bases, they went back and re-oathed him the next day at the White House just to make sure that it was done properly.
Yeah.
As opposed to the guy who was, president for a day.
Yeah. So, all right. Which one? There was a story we missed that I really liked. We talked about a little bit about William Henry Harrison, but we didn't talk a whole lot about that. But William Henry Harrison is, Tippecanoe and Tyler too. During the campaign, they were questioning his masculinity.
Yeah.
And, he's Tippecanoe. He's a war hero. He was an outdoorsman. He was this and he was that. But it kind of made William Henry Harrison not wear an overcoat.
Right.
And not wear a top hat on one of the coldest days. And, I don't know if it necessarily killed him, but he also gave...
He was a little verbose.
He gave the longest speech for 2 hours.
Just under 8,500 words.
In that weather, it was too much.
Yeah, I mean, he caught pneumonia after speaking for 2 hours in the rain and the cold and everything, and people, connected that to the fact that he died a month later, but apparently he got typhus. So it may not have been the pneumonia that killed him, but he got a cold 3 weeks later that turned into typhus, and that's probably what killed him.
Yeah.
But, the fact that he stood out in that weather for 2 hours plus and used 8,450 words.
That cold.
Put a coat on.
If the weather's that cold, don't give a 2-hour speech.
Right.
20-minute speech is good.
Right. Because what about everybody else who's supposed to be watching you?
They are the people that are there to support you. And you just tortured them for 2 hours. So, do you have any comments about speeches during the inauguration?
No. I mean, Kennedy's is still, one of the best. Otherwise, they kind of blur.
All right. One of the traditions that was actually Jimmy Carter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So Jimmy Carter gets out during the parade and decides to walk in front of the car in the Secret Service and everything, and he really wanted to do that. And ever since then, that's been pretty much a tradition. So I don't know if as cold as it is.
Tomorrow or Monday.
Monday, if that's going to happen.
Right.
What do you think? And especially after him getting shot.
That's part of the issue as well. But the amount of security that's going to be on the street today or on Monday is going to be massive. It's going to be cold. You can't hold anybody accountable for not walking in 12-degree weather. But Thomas Jefferson, not only did he walk to the inauguration, he walked home from it. He thought that was talk about man of the people. But I don't know. I don't remember if Biden walked part of his way. I know that Trump and Melania certainly did. They walked in his first inauguration. They walked part of the way. It's a nice thing to do. But people are crazy. Whether you like the president that's coming in or you don't like the president that's coming in, there's just nutty people out there that's going to take a swing, and it's horrific that you have to even consider that as an option.
Yeah, and it says there were 5 presidents who had their own inauguration. In all the cases, they took over for presidents who couldn't complete his term.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who the 5th one was. We haven't figured that one.
So you had Ford.
That's the one I kept forgetting, and I don't know where he was sworn in.
You had Johnson.
Yep. LBJ was sworn in on a plane, and he was sworn in by, I had her name here. It was Judge Sarah T. Hughes swore JFK in, and that was on the plane.
Didn't somebody get sworn in? He was visiting his father, and his father was a justice?
Yeah, that was Calvin Coolidge in Vermont. His father was a justice of the peace.
Harding died.
Yep.
And his father was visiting his father.
Yep, in northern Vermont. Vermont.
He was visiting his father, and his father actually he did it at his father's house, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was pretty wild.
And then he went back to sleep.
Yeah.
He got sworn in as president, and he went back to sleep.
All right, so I'm assuming
Teddy Roosevelt.
Teddy Roosevelt when McKinley got shot.
Yep, that was at the home of Ainsley Wilcox, and he did not use a Bible.
Okay, who was the judge?
Doesn't say.
Doesn't say.
Didn't say.
So, and then I'm assuming Andrew Johnson.
Yeah,
Okay.
would make sense.
All right, who got sworn in after Garfield? Who would have
That
been
was
after?
Coolidge.
Coolidge
Yeah, that was Coolidge.
after Garfield?
Yeah.
No, that
Oh,
was,
Garfield.
He's
No,
after Harding.
no, that was Harding. Yeah,
Yeah.
the G confuses me. I don't know who was after Garfield.
Yeah. So.
Huh.
So I would think there have to be more than 5. But I mean, unless they're counting like Johnson and LBJ and Teddy Roosevelt, both won and had other inaugurations.
Right.
So I don't know if they're saying that they never did get that. So, but Gerald Ford's the most recent one that was there. Gerald Ford's our only president that was never on a presidential winning ticket.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you looking up those numbers right now? Is that what you're
No, I'm looking up to see who followed Garfield, and I guess it was Chester A. Arthur.
So
And he was sworn in Manhattan.
all right. So let's see here. Johnson was unpopular. The others who were eminently forgettable: John Tyler, Millard Fillmore, Chester Arthur, and Arthur couldn't even win despite his close ties with the popular James Garfield. So Chester Arthur,
Yeah.
after Garfield, and then he never got another chance.
Nah.
So Tyler
And-
never. Tyler
well, wait
never
a second.
got chance.
Was it Chester A. Arthur who was? It might have been he who. Yeah. Was it he who said, "Yeah, and I'm not going to run for re-election"?
Yeah, he couldn't even win his own party.
Right. So he in his inaugural address said, "I'm out of here." I think it was Arthur.
Yeah.
I think it was Arthur.
All right. Any other stories out there that we left off? And Blake, you have any inauguration stories that you want to talk about?
Unfortunately, I don't. Actually, I kind of do have one personally for me because somehow accidentally, when I first got my driver's license, it was January 20th, 2017. So I got lucky
Yeah.
Okay.
by having my drive. So I took my driving test. So I think I only missed like one right turn signal. Actually, maybe
you missed
two.
more than that. I knew the dude.
Okay, but thankfully when the test was done, that was when
That was Inauguration Day.
Yeah, and I made just in time for Trump to be officially sworn in.
Okay.
All right. Are you going to watch the inauguration?
Probably will.
Yeah.
Are you going to watch it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's history.
Yeah. It is history. It is on Martin Luther King Day. Martin Luther King Day. His birthday was actually on January 15th. It's gonna happen
Well-
every once in a while. That's going to happen. It's going to fall on the same day as Martin Luther King Day.
Right. But this is also going to be Tech Oligarch Appreciation Day.
I don't know what the hell that means.
Means all the
Dennis Miller, what are you saying to me?
all the technocrats, all the technology impresarios, all the rich people, all the bajillionaires are going to be there, and they are creating a new oligarchy, which is going to be.
So they're the new Rockefellers, Vanderbilts,
Yes.
and
Yes.
Astors.
But somehow more. They say bro a lot more.
They say bro a lot more. It's like you have the oligarchs in Russia that are all based in
If you had to pick
petroleum and stuff.
5 oligarchs
Okay.
in the U.S. right now, who would they be?
Well, right now, who are about to come into some serious power.
Yes.
You got Musk, who really got to stay out of people's politics. The only people that are telling him to shut up is England. You've got Zuckerberg. You've got Musk, Zuckerberg, Bezos. Who finally got his rocket up. There were two launches yesterday, and you got New Glenn and a Falcon Heavy both went up yesterday, I think.
Okay.
Who else? You got the AI guy is going to be there. Whoever that is, whoever runs one of those big AI companies, and I don't pay attention. So.
Blake, who are you thinking?
Are you thinking like Oracle and like Larry Ellison?
No,
Yeah,
no.
he's a tech guy. He's Dell, right? Isn't he Ellison?
I thought Ellison was
Oracle.
yeah,
Oracle.
Yeah,
That's it. Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's going to be
Probably.
there.
What about Gates? Is Gates a part of the oligarch or no?
Tough call.
I think he's old. I think he's like the old guard of the
Right.
oligarchy. Like he was like the HW and maybe more Clinton.
All right.
Right, and you got Tim Cook until today when trying to stop buying iPhones.
All right, and here, and this is the last question we have because we don't have a whole lot of time because you're on the Democrat side in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. I don't have a problem with Elon Musk. What is the Democrats' biggest issue that you see from that side with Elon Musk? Because I do think he's trying.
He's a conspiracy theorist. Stay in engineering. He's a brilliant man. Bore your tunnels, build your rockets, build your cars, build your batteries, and stay out of politics. Why is he running around to the alt-right in Germany? Why is he fomenting dissent in England, calling people pedophiles?
You would rather have a lifetime politician
I would not.
than a successful businessman. And I don't like Trump.
No.
No, you said stay. Wait. You got to defend your own statement.
I will.
You're making this statement.
I will.
You said stay in business. Our country is built on businessmen, not politicians, and that's where we fucked up everything.
Sure.
It's because of lifetime politicians. So
no problem.
I argue with your statement on that point.
He has a bully pulpit of gajillion people, and the shit he puts on it is incendiary and unfounded. He
paid for that.
Fine.
So
and you know what?
Part of freedom of speech.
He paid for it, but he also didn't pay fair market value because apparently the SEC, and that'll last about another 2 days before they squash that little fine for not reporting the volume of stuff that he was buying when he was buying Twitter in the first place. He went and he didn't.
He's the highest paying taxpayer in our entire country.
He's also the highest earner, so there's no problem with the fact that he should be paying more in taxes.
But
I mean, you guys defend it like he pays the most taxes in the world. Yeah, he also makes the most money in the world. So where is there a problem with him paying the most? Sorry?
He's giving back more than any other human.
He's also earning more than anybody else. So what?
It's his freaking money.
Fine.
It's his money.
Absolutely.
He's allowed to spend his money any way he wants. He worked hard to get there. It's not for you to take. That's where I have a problem with the Democratic Party.
What?
Because he earned this, he should pay more. No, he should pay the exact same percentage as a person who sits on their freaking ass and does nothing for this world.
So let's go to a flat tax. Let's go to a flat tax. He'll still pay more than anybody else.
100%. And you know what? He'd be happy with that. But don't beat him up because he's coming out of pocket on top of what he's paying the government.
I'm beating him up because he's wading into shit that he doesn't know about and he thinks he does. And and you know what? And in all fairness,
Biden can't figure out which flavor of ice cream he
Biden's done.
Free world.
And not anymore.
Come on, he's a 50-year politician that's only lived off of our dollar.
Can I please put in the autistic perspective on things?
Please
because he has autism. Look, I personally I share a lot of things about Elon. Okay, he's definitely hyper focused on a lot of things going on at once. I personally think he wants the world to be a certain way. Mm-hmm. I kind of have that view as well. So, however though, I definitely do think he doesn't like hearing the word no. So basically,
that is a problem with the wealthy,
right? And he wants to be.
Zuckerberg's going to be the same way.
Yes. Yeah.
Jobs was that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rockefeller was that way. Flagler was that way. But these are people that created our country.
And do you think anybody's going to say no to Donald Trump?
I do think.
I don't think.
First term, yes. This term, no.
He's not in the same category as these guys.
No, but he's got plenty of power.
He's got plenty of power. And he's got ultimate power right now, basically, with the way the court system worked.
Right.
So,
and he's getting sycophants as his secretaries, as his cabinet. His cabinet's going to be a bunch of sycophants.
Yeah. I do think the one thing that so definitely a lot of the billionaires have the same viewpoint as Elon Musk. My main issue, and probably a lot of issues, is he does not have an off button. He tweets and retweets like 20 hours a day.
I can tell you this: less than a year is how long Elon Musk will work with Donald Trump. Elon Musk will work with Donald Trump.
Okay.
Less than a year.
Look, the man should go back to do what he does well.
Yeah.
Be brilliant. Mm-hmm. Stay out of politics.
That's the strength of our country is the brilliant people running our government.
We don't have brilliant people running our government,
exactly.
and we're gonna have less brilliant people coming up.
Point, exactly.
I know. I agree with you on that.
Understand?
I do.
You understand the statement you're making? That's the people we need in politics. The brilliant people. Thomas Jefferson was one of the most brilliant people in our entire country. And George Washington, we're not going to give him that status.
No.
But John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, they became political enemies, but they were both brilliant. Right now, we settle
Oh, yes.
for this is where I go back to. We went to celebrity presidents and no longer brilliant people.
You mean like reality TV stars?
Reality TV stars, actors.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dutch was not considered. Dutch is one of the.
But he was one of the better regarded presidents and
Exactly.
successful.
But he also had one of the lowest IQs. Okay, Clinton. I can't.
Clinton was a Rhodes Scholar.
I can't give George Herbert Bush a whole lot because he rode on Dutch's back.
Right.
So Herbert Bush, I can't give him a lot. Clinton, brilliant. All right.
Rhodes Scholar.
But
yeah.
you know what he was more brilliant at? Being a celebrity and being charismatic.
Yeah.
It wasn't because of his intelligence. He won twice. It was because of his charisma.
Sure.
And W won because he had nobody
Opposition.
of any power to run against him.
Right.
He was the better, in America's eyes, of two evils. Obama, I wouldn't call him brilliant, but he also was charismatic and he had a great story.
And a bright man.
Yeah, I'll give him a little bit, but that was not. I wouldn't put him in the top 5 scholars of presidents that we've had.
Where'd you put Wilson?
Wilson's IQ was up there. Carter's in the top 5.
Yeah.
He
He
was
was,
a
he
great-
was a nuclear engineer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he showed what a great man he was later. I know we're way over on time, and Blake, if you guys would please share the show. Unfortunately, it didn't get exciting until after our hour
Right.
was up.
I know. It's unfortunate.
Well,
Yeah.
more fireworks next week when we talk about who knows what.
Yeah. But I want to say thank you to guys for sticking around with us. I know we went over a little bit. Please share the show. I wish we could have continued that conversation even further on. So it went into uncommon ground mode. So
Right.
thank you guys. We appreciate you. See you next week.